Welcome to a hot and muggy Bangkok morning. I'm here on a bit of an unusual visit. This is the two-day conference of the Electric Vehicle Technology Conference for Thailand. It's the second international. I completely missed the one last year, but I caught this one. And Abel and I came up from Hua Hin on the train yesterday. And so here we are. It's a really massive complex here, the Bangkok International Trade and Exhibition Center, I think it's called. We got a little worried when we first walked up because we couldn't see any signs for our electric vehicle conference, but there's a big sign there for Sustainable Energy Week, which is a different conference going on in the building, and I'm definitely going to bluff my way into that one too. They have a big exhibition center inside. But the focus of the electric vehicle conference is 2 days. The first day is keynote sessions. Second day is technical sessions. And the keynote sessions, this is a big deal. They've got two government ministers for science and technology and finance speaking. They've got the British ambassador to Thailand is here to speak about the UK's low carbon policies. They've got researchers and people from BMW, Toyota, and Yamaha that I saw on the conference sheet. And then the researchers, the second day, they're all PhDs from universities around the world: Belgium, Netherlands, Singapore, Thailand, obviously. So this is not a lightweight event. I'm really looking forward to it. I'll try and get some video inside. The EV part's not going to be very exciting because it's just one big open conference room. But I'll see if I can get some video of the Sustainable Energy Week exhibitions too, and I'll report back later on what I find. And I was just looking at my conference badge that they handed me, and it actually has the Sustainable Energy Week conference name on it. So I guess I'm already in. It must be some kind of a joint venture, or they're just doing it all under one umbrella. So the whole conference was put on by the Electric Vehicle Association of Thailand, and I have to give them credit for working so hard to bring electric vehicles and the associated alternative energy to charge these vehicles to Thailand in a time where the country isn't very stable, and the government that's in place right now is worried about a lot of other things rather than trying to make the air cleaner for everyone to breathe, reduce traffic noise, and all the other great things that come from electric vehicles. So I do give them credit for that. And the focus on the conference is that bringing there's actually 4 tracks to what the discussions involved. And track 1 was EV systems and vehicle systems. So that's basically all the parts that go into it, and the final assembled vehicles and the impact on traffic and society. Track 2 was energy supply and storage. So there was some discussion about solar and battery systems. Track 3 was motors and drive systems and components. So these are the guts of the vehicle that make it go. And then track 4 was about charging. Now that I'm back home, I checked the website only to find that they've put a bunch of pictures and quite a few of the downloadable presentations online. So I'll paste in a picture here along with the web link to get to those materials. And then all the speakers throughout the 2 days got up on stage for a photo session and a rather amusing kickoff to the conference that you're seeing here. I was quite away from the stage, but basically 2 people stuck 2 fake charging handles into a fake wooden box that the front lit up like a battery charging. There's nothing that bugs me more than this fake ceremonial stuff. So at this point I'm like, oh, why am I here? But then the rest of the day got better. So the morning was kicked off by a few short keynote speeches. The first by the president of the Electric Vehicle Association of Thailand. The second by the Minister of Science and Technology from Thailand, which is a pretty great thing to have. They recognize this as actually largely based in science and technology, and that's the only thing that's going to get us there. The final keynote was by the British ambassador to Thailand. Nice guy. Not a lot of content to his speech other than that the UK is also working on these issues, and we've pledged a lot of money. Now, the first two sessions of the day, I have to say, were very impressive. The first was delivered by the director of the Board of Investment of Thailand. And I apologize for absolutely pronouncing her name wrong. Ms. Ajarin Patanapanchai. That's as good as I can get it. The Board of Investment is the part of the Thai government that gives seed money to companies and factories and labor and land and businesses and ideas that they feel are going to be valuable for Thailand in the future. And they're looking 5, 10, 50 years into the future to figure out where to put this money. And the overwhelming theme from her talk was, if you're doing anything with electric vehicles, we will give you money to help you buy your land. And you get to own the land, which is extremely rare in Thailand. Build your factory, hire staff, make electric vehicle components, make electric vehicles. They're doing this by seed money, reduction in excise tax, deductions in other kinds of taxes. It was very impressive, and they're serious about this. So that's probably the big takeaway from the entire conference. The Department of Land Transport is focusing on electric vehicle standards, which are going to be in line with the European L, M, and N vehicles. And they're looking at promoting manufacture of batteries, motors, battery management systems, management computers, DC to DC systems, charging stations, inverters. They're giving tax holidays for up to 10 years, depending on what kind of part you're building, or entire cars, pickups, and buses. If you want to start a testing laboratory or a training center, they have money for you. They will handle the work permits for you. There is no restriction on foreign currency entering or leaving the country, which is a very big deal. No problems with export requirements. If you build it here, you can ship it where it needs to go in the world. So this is a big deal, and it's going to really catapult Thailand to the forefront of vehicle manufacturing, because they already are they're within the top 10 vehicle producers in the world, which is a pretty high place to be ranked. So this is just going to cement Thailand's vehicle and parts manufacturing industries. Now, the next session was extremely impressive. It was delivered by Dr. Ali Izadi Najafabadi, who is the head of Bloomberg's New Energy Finance Research Analysis Division for Japan and Korea, which encompasses most of Asia. And he took us through some of the history of the electric vehicle world, and then walked us through what the projections are into the future. So he talked about China being the largest passenger car electric vehicle market now. They sold 280,000 cars in 2016. This boggles the mind. And then you have other countries that have sold 5 or none, depending on the government policy and whether the manufacturers choose to sell there. He said the United States electric vehicle strategy is dominated by California policy, and as a result of that, Tesla, the car maker. But they project no real change in the take-up of electric cars due to Trump's pullout of the Paris Accord. And when he said that, everybody laughed. Anyway. So in 2014, there were 3 countries with 1% or more of electric vehicle sales. In 2016, there were 12 countries. So in a short period of time, we have electric vehicles growing rapidly across the world. But in Thailand today, there's limited support by vendors, and the pricing is prohibitive because of the import duties. And there are probably less than 1,000 total electric vehicles in the country right now. But he believes that the future of Thailand's EVs are not just passenger cars, but tuk-tuks and buses, which make up a significant amount of the public transportation that is used by a lot of people here. Looking into the future again, they predict by 2020 there will be 100 or so models of electric vehicles available in the world, which is a doubling from 2015 to 2020. By 2020, they expect 900,000 electric vehicles to be sold, which is driven by several factors. The price drop for lithium batteries between 2010 and 2016 was 73%. So we're now at 27% of the 2010 prices. And they project that by 2030, the pricing will have dropped by 93% of the 2010 levels. So that shows that's the main component that goes into an electric car. By prices dropping by 93% on that one component, it makes the vehicle on par or cheaper to buy and operate than a gasoline vehicle. Now, where you are in the world will affect your prices due to land and labor and capital costs. Then he moved on to the lithium supply. Everybody says, oh, we're going to run out of lithium, and then that'll shoot the price of batteries up again. No. By 2030, projected at the volume of lithium batteries they believe will be manufactured, it will use only 0.43% of the today known reserves of lithium in the world. So that's not a problem. What is a problem is manufacturing capacity for lithium, nickel, cobalt, manganese, aluminum, copper, and graphite, and all these trace minerals that go into batteries. We have to follow Tesla's lead with the Gigafactory, and then also to where we get these in the world. A lot of these materials can actually be pulled from the recycling chain, which is good, so we don't have to dig new big holes in the planet, and we just recycle everything around in a big circle. Moving on to CO2 emissions. By 2040, the US will be 57% zero emissions from point sources in transportation, and the use of coal will almost be gone, which is a great story. Charging infrastructure. There are 370,000 charging stations today, many of which are subsidized by government and utilities, again seeding the charging infrastructure so that buying an electric car is convenient. There's another argument about grid capacity, and can the grid handle all these electric cars charging, whether it's day or night? He says, in general, the electric demand on the global grid will fall slightly. So we don't even have to worry about building more power stations to increase the total electric capacity in the world. We just need to change the makeup and move away from from coal and other dirty power sources to solar and wind. A lot of the other gains will also be from efficiency. As appliances and factories get more efficient, they pull less power from the grid. This leads on to well, can I power my house, or can I put electricity back into the grid with my car? Yes, but individual cars will not have much of an impact at all. So that's really not a discussion point. In Thailand, the government-owned PTT oil company is looking at the impact of EVs on petrol and diesel consumption, and they're actually working on a plan to install charging stations in their gas stations, which makes sense. You pull in, you decide to charge up with electricity or with petrol, and that mix will change over time away from petrol and towards electricity. And that's pretty much it. He went into a lot more detail. He had great slides and great pictures and great graphs as he was going through. But it made me come away thinking we're doing the right thing. And the world is recognizing it, and governments are recognizing it, and manufacturers are recognizing it, and we're moving to this new economy. So I was really happy about that. After a fun-filled morning, we took the opportunity to have some lunch downstairs in the food court. All kinds of Asian food, as you can see, along with some Western food. Then we went back upstairs to the show. First, we checked out the big sign showing where everybody was. And then here's the sign for the entranceway in. And this is a big show floor. It's probably 4 football fields big. And it was in conjunction with the alternative energy show. So there was not just, there's a tiny little bit of electric vehicles, quite a lot of solar power, but a lot of water pumps for some reason. Water was a big issue here. We found a sign for Jinko Solar, advertising a big project they did here in my project in Pratchip-Kiri-Khan, which was good to see. Unfortunately, you always see some clown trying to get people to buy some gadget for their car that makes hydrogen out of water. I just don't understand. Then I stumbled across a Nissan Leaf and an electric tuk-tuk. I actually saw this tuk-tuk in Bangkok about a year ago at a car show up there, and you can see the battery box. And I remembered the tuk-tuk. I remembered the battery box was actually designed in Germany, so I talked with these folks for a little while. And then right at the end of the show, I bumped into my old company that I used to use their equipment back in my solar days with SatCon inverters and also energy monitoring. Used their stuff on many projects, and these are the gentlemen who run their Asia bureau. And then it was back up to the conference. Okay, after lunch and the wander around the trade show floor, there was a panel discussion from 4 gentlemen from Europe. And it was a panel discussion titled From Vision to Action, Electric Vehicle Policy, Practice, and Profitability. And they did quite an extensive overview of the world's policies in when governments wake up and say, okay, we need to look at this thing. Let's build a vision. What do we want 10, 20, 50 years in the future? How do we incent companies to take us there? And what do we get in the end? So I didn't take very many notes because it was very general discussion. But everything they said was, in my mind, correct, follows my worldview of what we should be doing. So that was good. Next up, after a coffee break, was Dr. Martin Messagi from the University of Brussels in Belgium discussing the wheel-to-well and life cycle assessment of electric vehicles. He talked about the social and economic risks in acquiring all of the ingredients that go into batteries and electric cars. He talked about mining. He talked about the recycling life cycle and how we extract what we need out of that. He talked about CO2 targets. The Thai government's 2015 CO2 target is CO2 per kilowatt hour is 470, and the global target is recognized to be about 350. So we've got a long way to go to get that number down. Talked again about the second life of batteries, not just shredding them and recycling the atoms, but giving a new life to batteries that have been driving in a car for a while. So this would be putting them into stationary storage where it's okay if they're down to 70% of capacity. If they're doing grid-tied battery, on a grid level basis or at a factory or somebody's house, those batteries are still wonderful and still have decades of useful life ahead of them. Talked about vehicle to grid a little bit. He was a little more upbeat about it than the earlier gentleman from Bloomberg, but it was a good talk. Next up was Stefan Teuchert who is the president of BMW of Thailand. This is a big guy, big executive, and for him to come to this particular conference, I think was great, because I really do respect BMW for what they've done in the world of electric vehicles. They've got the i3 and the i8. They pioneered the use of carbon fiber monocoque to save weight and add structural strength to those two cars. The cars are rolling technological experiments. The i3 is affordable. The i8 is sexy as hell, although it does have a little three-cylinder engine in it with a fake V12 sound coming out the back. But I give them more credit than I do to Volkswagen, of course, or even Mercedes. So he was talking about technology and innovation for future mobility. So he was saying these are all the things you can look forward to, most of which Tesla has already checked off the list. But he talked about things like heads-up display, including kind of not virtual reality, but what they call augmented reality, where they overlay images in the heads-up display on the building. So if you drive past a building, it'll pop up the name of that building or the store or the address as you go by. And the key to what they're looking at is, as an acronym, of course, ACES, Autonomous, Connected, Electrified, and Shared. They're looking at self-driving cars, car sharing, swarming of vehicles, and all the vehicles are talking to each other over some kind of wireless network saying, I'm coming up behind you, this is how fast I'm going, I want to turn left, I want to turn right. So the autonomous cars on the road are not just doing the best they can with their sensors, but they're talking amongst each other to fly like a flock of birds, as you see, or a school of fish. And they've already got a car sharing program going called Drive Now. I think it's called Drive Now. With 800,000 members signed up to their program in Germany. I had never heard of this before. So not only are they doing the electrical, the autonomous, and that, but now they've got a big car sharing program which will be able to tie everything together. Now you may have heard that there are 5 levels of driving autonomy, ranging from 0 to 5. The way BMW likes to think of it is in simple terms. 0 is a human driving, and then you start to take things off. Level 1 is feet off the pedals. You don't worry about your speed, but you still have to steer. And so that's pretty much cruise control we have today. Number 2, hands off. So that's where you don't have to steer. This is pretty much where Tesla is today with their autopilot. It will steer and drive and accelerate and brake and do all those things for you. Level 3 is eyes off. This is where the car is so good at driving is you do not have to remain attentive to where you're going and to be able to quickly take over control of the car. Number 4, mind off. So you could be reading the newspaper, you could be asleep in the car. That's the level of autonomy we're at there. And then level 5 is no driver. He didn't have an off term for that, so maybe people off, where the car is does not have a driver. It would basically be like a taxi. There wouldn't be a steering wheel. There wouldn't be any pedals. And he says we're looking at 10 to 15 years for this to become a reality, and that's what they believe that BMW's internal plans to make that happen. I think Tesla would be in full agreement with that. To get there, they're working on better sensors, artificial intelligence, very high precision mapping, and 3D printing of not only plastics, but also carbon fiber that they're doing now, and 3D printing metal parts. So not only are they looking at the vehicle that you're going to be sitting in or driving in the road, but they're also upgrading their factories to these levels of innovation to make the car. A better factory makes a better car. So I was very impressed with his talk. The last 2 sessions of the day were on actual charging systems. The first one was on CCS, or combined charging system. and the second was on CHAdeMO. The CCS talk I thought was amusing because the guy was like a used car salesman, and I could refute literally every point this guy made about his talk. He says it's the worldwide standard. No. There is no such thing as a worldwide standard in electric vehicle charging systems, and there never will be, because you've got different kinds of electricity, you have different manufacturers, you've got different needs. You have low speed charging at home, medium speed charging at a grocery store, high speed charging at a highway rest stop. They need different wires, different kinds of electricity delivery. Yeah, and he said, and we've got a single plug to make all this happen around the world. No, he went through his slides after that. There are 4 different plugs for CCS, depending on if it's AC power in the US, AC power in Europe, DC power in the US, or DC power in Europe. There is literally 4 plugs, not 1 plug. He says their protocol includes payment information. So the charger can talk to the car, and over the charging plug, it will exchange its payment credentials, which is pretty cool because right now you either have to have an RFID fob or something else that you wave in front of the charger, or you literally punch some buttons in front of the charger on a touch screen. So I do really think that's cool. They have a plan for overhead charging of buses with extremely high power delivery. But that makes a 5th plug because you cannot plug that plug in there and pump a million watt hours of power, a million watts, of power into the top of a bus through that plug. It'll melt. So now we're up to 5 plugs. Anyway, I wish them luck. The second talk was from the CHAdeMO man. He was much more reasonable in his presentation of the CHAdeMO standard. And for those of you who don't know, CHAdeMO was developed in Japan in conjunction with the electric company and Nissan initially. And it's a play on words that basically means have a cup of tea and take a break. And it comes out as CHAdeMO in Japanese. It is a widespread charging standard. There's 16,000 plugs working in the world right now, all over the world, as opposed to what the CCS man said. I do have a particular gripe with CHAdeMO. If you read the spec, it says that it will deliver power or deliver voltage from 50 volts to something like 500 volts to account for a wide range of vehicles that are expected to use its charger around the world in different uses. Now, when the initial CHAdeMO chargers first came out, the only car in the world that had a plug for it was a Nissan Leaf. So what the companies did is they built their charger and wrote the software and designed the circuits so that it could successfully charge a Nissan Leaf. Great, but a Nissan Leaf is 150 volts. A minimum charging voltage. If you look at the certification list in the CHAdeMO website, almost none of the chargers go down as low as 50 volts. They all start at 150, even though they are stamped as certified for the standard. But the standard says they have to go down to 50 volts. So my question to him was, how are these chargers certified with the CHAdeMO stamp if they don't go down to 50 volts? And this is a big deal, especially in Asia, because you're going to have scooters and motorcycles and tuk-tuks with 48 and up to about 72 volts. It is very common for this type of low-speed vehicle. That means if I ride up to a CHAdeMO station, I don't know if it's going to work or not because I can't take the CHAdeMO standard as gold when I roll up to a particular station. He faffed around his answer a bit, saying, well, we're working on the regional issues involved in low-speed charging. And I didn't feel like going back up to the microphone and saying, but the standard says 50 volts. So, anyway, that's my beef with CHAdeMO. And that wrapped up the day. From there, Abel and I went back down to the show floor and walked the second half of the show. saw lots of cool stuff, and then we went into town and had some food and had some drinks, as you do when you're in Bangkok. And we went home very, very late. Okay, we are now at the beginning of day 2 of the show. This is what's called the technical sessions, and this is what I had to pay to attend for day 2, 2,000 baht, or about $58. I'm happy to contribute to the cause, but was the day worth it above and beyond what I saw yesterday? For me, no. There were a couple of interesting tidbits, so I'll just very quickly walk you through. A lot of the information was repetitive from the day before, so there was no additional value. There was a discussion specifically about electric buses in Thailand, which is a fantastic idea. If you've ever tried to ride your brilliant, clean electric scooter behind a diesel bus, you'll understand why we need to get rid of diesel as a transportation fuel. Now, the Thai government is targeting 1,000 electric buses on the road by 2019, which is great. And they've already had their first EV bus prototype on the road since 2010, which I didn't know about. They probably drove it once and then parked it, and everybody's forgotten about it. The buses are targeted for a 162 kilowatt hour pack, which is about it's between 1.5 and 2 times the size of the pack in a Tesla, which is good because the buses just go around and around, and they can be either swapped out or very, very quickly charged. They're targeting a 200 kilometer range for the bus, which is perfect for city buses. The next one was, strangely, about the use of compressed natural gas generator sets in electric buses. And I was looking at the guy saying, "Sir, I think you've missed the point of why we're here. We don't want hybrids. We want electrification. Please go talk with somebody else." Okay, the next one was cool. This is called in situ visualization of lithium batteries with soft X-rays. And they are literally building prototype batteries, which are, when you look at a battery, you've got an anode, an electrolyte, and a cathode. And that's generally stacked up multi times or rolled up in a long sheet. What they're doing is they're building just a small piece of that and shooting an X-ray at it sideways. So the anode, electrolyte, and cathode sandwich is only 50 microns wide in their test sample. Go look up micron. It's really small. But the resolution of their X-ray is 1 micron. So when they take a shot, they can actually identify the lithium ions and they take snapshots, boom, 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 right? They can count the number of ions and where they are during charge and discharge cycles. This is brilliant because we've never been able to physically see how a battery physically works. We've only theoretically guessed at how they work. But now that we can see it, we can make improvements. We can change chemistries. We can change anode and cathode materials and physically see how they work and how they degrade over time. So that's really, really amazing. The next one was a PhD lady who was looking at using Thailand-based sources as material in lithium batteries. And she's working on plants such as rice husks, corn stalks, and other crops as a source of silicon dioxide and a source of carbon, which they then make into the materials that go into a battery. Their cost is about 10 times that of conventional graphite today, but since it's in a lab, it'll be easier to get those costs down. This is really good, I think. I'm really happy to hear that as a native Thai use of resources. A man came on and talked about motors. Not that exciting because I've heard it all before. The next session was pretty cool. There's a man from Semikron Systems, Mr. Plutschka from Germany, I believe, and he's working on new ways to build and package IGBTs. And for those of you who don't understand or have never opened up an electric motor controller, an IGBT is an insulated gate bipolar transistor. Now, that's fancy for, it's just a transistor. Like any transistor, it switches electricity on and off. But the IGBTs are designed to switch tremendously high voltages at tremendously high amperages tremendously quickly. So we're talking about 1,000 volts and 2,000 amps and switching it on and off 10,000 times a second. Any other kind of transistor is going to turn into a puff of smoke and leave you dead on the side of the road. So they're working on new materials to build these transistors, new ways to extract the heat out of them with special thermal pastes, and instead of having rigid terminals that you attach your wires to, they're actually making flexible foil terminals which reduce inductance and then also stop the problems of breakage from vibration. And they're always working on smaller size, more current, faster switching, and higher reliability. So that might have been my top geeky presentation of the day. Next was a man from Schneider in Singapore talking about smart cities. He's a smart city consultant. He says, you pay me a lot of money. I tell you the same story I told the last customer, or I tell you a completely different story, whatever you want to hear. He was joking, but that's about as firm as you're going to get the concept of smart cities. And he had so many problems with his PowerPoint presentation. We were all just kind of shaking our heads and laughing with him. But that's about all I got out of that. There was a man from a company in the Netherlands who's building his own charging infrastructure. And then that was pretty much the end of the day. So like I said, not a lot of content. A couple of highlights. Would I pay $58 again next year to see it? No, I'd be happy to skip that. But just to summarize, I appreciate the Electric Vehicle Association of Thailand for putting this on. It's the second year. I skipped the first year because I just didn't know about it. I'll definitely go next year. I'll go for the first day. I'll go to the show floor and really enjoy myself. Hopefully by then I've got my scooter totally up and running. I showed my Android app to a few people that talks over Bluetooth to the motor controller that I'll be installing. And it was just a good crowd, and we were all focused on solving the world's problems. So, hope you enjoyed that, and wait about a year and I'll have an update on the next one for you.